I had, I think, by far my best day of the tournament during the first game against Gukesh.
Magnus Carlsen's by far the best game in the World Cup and how to play against the London system. In this game, Gukesh had the white pieces and he started the game with pawn to d4, knight f6, and here it comes, bishop to f4, the London system, a very rock solid system which a lot of players plays this system, and here a surprising move by Magnus Carlsen, he plays pawn to b6. And with this move, Magnus started a mind game in this game. As you know, Gukesh is a very aggressive and attacking player, and Magnus is a positional endgame type player. Gukesh wants to play open position, he wants to attack, and Magnus wants to play close position, something like that. And with this move, Magnus wants to prevent Gukesh's preparations and the lines that he wants to play. Okay, Gukesh plays knight to c3, so-called the Jobava London system, a very aggressive system that white usually wants to play something like e4, for example, with f3, e4, queen to d2, long castle, in some cases even g4, h4, and he wants to play an attacking game. Magnus replies with bishop b7. I should also mention that if Gukesh had played knight to f3, I suppose that bishop b7 and after e3, the typical London system, I guess here Magnus could have played pawn to g6, and for example, after something like bishop e2, bishop g7, pawn to h3, usually to secure the h2 square, something like d6, castle, knight d7. I guess Magnus was aiming for this kind of position, but I'm not sure. He might have played something like e6 in this position and going for c5, d5 pawn structures. I'm not completely sure what you had in mind, but Gukesh in this game played knight c3, the Jobava London system, bishop to b7, f3, there is a fight for e4 and e6, pawn to e4, and here Magnus plays another surprising move, pawn to a6, which seems like a waste of time, but with this move he secures the b5 square, and in some cases he wants to push his pawn to b5. Imagine that white plays something like queen d2 and long castle, and then black wants to play b5 and b4 on the queen side to attack the king. So a6 is a useful move, so it's not a bad move, and here queen d2 and d5. With this move, Magnus wants to transform the game into a favorable French defense pawn structure for black. For example, after e5, knight d7, we have French defense pawn structure. Black wants to play c5, knight c6, and attack the center. And I guess this is a very good position for black. But Gukesh plays castle. He wants to make things open, keep things open, and he wants to sacrifice a pawn. If black takes this pawn, I don't think it's a very good idea to take this pawn, because after this moves, white can play queen e3, attack the bishop, and when bishop moves, white can play d5, d file will be opened, and e file also it will be open, and this king is in a lot of danger, so this is not advisable for white, for black. And in the game, Magnus plays bishop to b4, pinning the knight. It's like win our structures, and here I guess that white is forced to play e5. I thought that he should have played e5, and after knight d7, it's a very risky position for white because black wants to play c5, knight c6, and destroy this pawn structure in the center. But white has bishop g5, and for example, after something like queen c8, he can play f4 in this position, or he can play a3 first. But I guess there might be another move. Bishop takes c3 first, a between move, because if white takes with queen, obviously queen takes g5 is over, and if b takes c3, now queen c8, and we know that bishop takes d8 is also losing a piece, so this is also bad, so he should take b takes c3, and now queen c8, c5, knight c6, I don't know, this might be dangerous for white. So in this game, Gukesh, after bishop b4, he plays a3, and he wants to sacrifice a pawn with this move. And here Magnus took the challenge and took the knight, and after that taking the pawn, and here Gukesh plays pawn to d5. And as you can see, this bishop is open, this queen is open, and this rook is open, and black is in a lot of danger, and he should calculate it very goodly how he should continue. And Magnus plays knight takes d5, a very strong move. Queen takes g7, and a calm reply, queen to f6. The signature of Magnus games. He always wants to exchange queens and transfer the game into a quiet endgame, even a simple endgame with even chances. But he likes this kind of position because he has lots of experience in endgames and he might be able to win against young players. So after queen f6, white has to take, and here he plays bishop e5. I guess he calculated till here and he saw that, okay, my position is very good. This is a pin. He cannot play knight d7 because I can take here. And after king takes d7, bishop f6, white is winning. But Magnus here plays king e7, defending his knight very calmly. And here white should take the pawn on c7 because there is no other option. He's a pawn down, bishop takes c7, knight d7. But with this position, I like black's pieces because they are coordinated together. The knight, the bishop is well placed on b7. He wants to play rook g8, rook c8. I guess black has lots of activity. Yes, white has two bishops. Yes, this is true, but these two bishops are not that strong in this position. Bishop retreats to g3, rook g8, putting pressure on the g file. Bishop e2, and here comes the star move of this game. I like this move very much. And I guess this move determines the follow-up of the game. Here, Magnus plays king back to e8. What a move. What is this? If our king is on e8, we play king to e7 in this position to activate our king in the endgame. But Magnus, his king is on e7, and he puts it backward on e8. What is this? With this move, Magnus wants to play knight h5 and capture this bishop because the g2 pawn is also weak. Before this, he could not play knight h4 because white can play with bishop to h4 check, and if the king moves, now white can take on e4, and this knight is hanging, and after knight f4 he can play bishop f3 and white is okay. Probably more than okay also. So this is the idea of Magnus. He plays a prophylactic move, king to e8, preparing knight h5, and there is no good defense for white in this position. He should take on e4, he took, and after knight takes e4, we also want to play knight takes g3. Here Gukesh plays bishop f3 and a series of exchange, h takes g3. If bishop takes b7, black can simply play rook a7, and after h takes g3, rook takes b7, rook takes h7, rook takes g3. It's like the game, so don't worry. After knight takes g3, in the game h takes g3, bishop takes f3, lots of exchanges, and rook takes h7, and activating the king once again. And this is the favorable endgame for Magnus that he aimed for. He had better pawn structure. His e pawn is a passed pawn. As you know, the passed pawns in the endgame are very important. If you have a passed pawn, you have an advantage on the endgame. And more importantly, the g2 pawn is weak, and black can attack it. Here, Gukesh plays knight d4, aiming for knight c6. He plays knight to e5, preventing knight c6 check. White plays rook e1, putting pressure on the knight, but black plays rook g4. The same, rook takes e5 and rook takes d4. Two rooks endgame. It might be a draw, no? As you know, in Russian chess school, they say all rook endgames are draw. Is it draw in this game or not? We should find out. Rook back to e2, defending the second rank. Rook d8, threatening mate in 1. c3, rook to f4. And here comes king c2, rook to g8. He wants to double on the g file, attack the g2 pawn, b4, b5. Stopping any kind of play of white. White wants to play a4, king b3, activating things and maybe creating a passer on the queen side, and he prevents it. This is another finger point of Magnus' game. He prevents his opponent's ideas with pawn to b5. King b3, he insists on playing a4, but rook g4, he wants to take on g2, rook f2, attacking it. Of course, rook h2 is an ugly move, a very ugly move, so rook f2, rook back to rook to g7, and here comes a series of another exchange, and a4. And white might think, okay, my position is good, I want to take this pawn, and then this pawn will be weak, and I will attack it, and I have enough compensation, enough counterplay. And pawn to f5, a takes b5, a takes b5. Here, black's simple plan is king f6, e5, e4, and he wants to push the passer. This is a very critical position of the game that Gukesh made a mistake here. Here Gukesh played rook a2. As I said, he wants to play rook a5, attack the weakness. But in the endgame, the most important thing is to create a passed pawn. He should have played pawn to c4 to, if exchanged, then this pawn will be a passer. But I guess he was afraid of, not this. After c4, he was afraid of rook to g3 check, and he cannot move his king obviously because of b takes c4. But in this position, he could have played rook f3, rook takes, b c4, king c4, and rook takes g2. Okay, white is a pawn down, but he has a passer, and he can play rook to b3 here. The rook should put behind the passed pawn, and now he can push. Now he can push him baby, and after that, he might have some chances to hold this game. I guess this position is equal if he plays well. So, more important than a pawn, he should have sacrificed the pawn to create a passer, but he didn't. He played rook a2, and Magnus comes with rook g5. This is not a bad move. Chess.com says this is a bad move, but I don't think so. The engine recommends king d6, and after rook a6, king d5. I don't know. This position is very unclear. White has two passed pawns. Black has two passed pawns. Yes, black is a little bit faster. But I guess after rook b7, this position is very unclear and it might be a draw. So I guess Magnus' move is even better. His rook g5 is even better than the engine move. So in this position, Gukesh plays rook a7, a deadly mistake. He shouldn't have played this. He should have played rook to a5 to attack the pawn. But wait a second, black can just simply play f4 and defend it. This was Magnus' idea. Here, computer suggests a very crazy move, king to c2. How can a player plays like this? Because king c2 rounds into a check, taking a pawn with check. Rook takes this, king d3. But with this maneuver, white kings become nearer to black's pawns. For example, after something like rook g5, he can play king e4, and after rook f5, he can play a check. And after this, he can put his king on f3 to stop this pawn. And this position might be a draw. This position honestly might be a draw because white can stop black pawns. So this was the best idea for white, but black can prevent this by playing king f6, and after king d3, e5. This is a better idea. Of course not rook takes b5 because e4 is over, so this is not possible. And after king e4, now rook takes g2. And if rook takes b5, black can play rook e2 check, and this is winning. And I don't know, after rook a6, king g5, king takes e5, f3, white might be able to hold on or not. I don't know. I'm not sure, but this might be a winning position for black. So a very unclear line, but in the game, Gukesh plays rook a7 check, and after king f7, black activated his king, rook back to a2. He pushes his pawns, rook comes to g3, once again preventing c4 and preventing white from creating a passer. King to a2. White has no moves in this position. He's paralyzed. King comes, and after check he comes here. Pawn to e5. The passed pawn is very active, and now white can take the pawn because Magnus wants to make a queen. Remember, it's a very instructive point because he doesn't play rook takes g2 and he doesn't want to win pawns. The most important thing is to create a passer and push it. Pawn to e3, and after rook b6 check, we have king f5, and after e2, Gukesh resigned this game. A very good game by Magnus. I don't see any mistake in his game, and he might have had something like 99% accuracy. The chess.com says it's 97 accuracy, but I guess Magnus even played better than the chess.com's engine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this was beneficiary for you. And if this is the case, please like the video and please subscribe to my channel and write your comments below this video. Enjoy chess and life.